Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. You are all Fuqara, so I take you are all Fuqara, many of you. So you are already have walked the initial steps of this affair, which is no other but Marifatullah. It's a path of company. For company is required when you are in a journey, for you don't know what is going to come. And the person who has been walked alongside with you knows of the affairs of this path, while those who are not aware of it, they will not give you advice. So those of the Fuqara are pearls for you. Keep the company, seek their advice, and when you find them in need of it, give it to them. Our matter starts and ends with the same. It's nothing but Marifatullah. All the other things that you see around the matters concerning Tasawwuf are only but means to reach Marifatullah. Marifatullah in itself is the means by which you obtain more Marifah. It's through it that you obtain more Marifah. So given the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you start doing the first steps into the matter, and it's the success of the first steps that leads you to the second, and so on. There is an enormous literature that you can look upon and benefit from, for there has been great people before us who have excelled in these affairs, and they have left behind the text of his teachings, and these have been valued by the people of our path as real treasures. And there are names of books and authors that you all know. But however the reading is beneficial, nothing compares to what you do. For this path is a path of action, and it doesn't matter what you say, it's what you do that carries your knowledge forward. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran that the most hateful for him is to say what you do not do. In Surah Al-Saf, is to say what you do not do. For this affair, you do, and then you say what you've done. So you don't offer people advice over matters for which you have not obtained permission. And the permission is obtained by your own doing. So you don't say to somebody, don't do this when you yourself are still doing it. Or do this thing when you are still refraining from doing it. And in that there is a teaching for us. In what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in that, is preventing us from acquiring a knowledge that is only from the mouth. And it is a knowledge that is the product of what you think you are, not what you are doing. And what you are is what you are doing. That's why in this path we say the acquisition of knowledge is not deprived from the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that Haqiqah and Shariah come together. And this is because there are some that they think that they can obtain spiritual qualities without any need of Islam, and they are wrong. And there are some that they say that they are so elevated that some of the matters of the Sharia do no longer apply to them, as if somehow they have already been clean from their affairs, redeemed from their affairs. This is not true. But in fact the opposite is true. It is these challenges that lies offers you, the means by which you obtain knowledge. Is the fact that Allah has put before us a struggle of things that we cannot do in the terms of, the absolute terms of the matter. And we struggle in coming together with it and trying to achieve what He's asked us to do. First within the domain of our affairs, and then our families and our communities, and then our cities. And then Allah says, and you haven't finished there. Because when you have cleaned that area, then you have to go to the next valley and put it right. And when you have finished with that, then you still have to continue and carry on. And these are known to people. People know what is halal and what is haram. There is no doubt about it. And the knowledge of it is only but part of it. Because if you know of it and you don't do anything about it, it's as if you do not know. But in fact, it is worse. Because you have access to this knowledge and you're ignoring it. Now, what comes forward at this juncture is the real critical thing of which tasawwuf can be of service, is when man is confronted before this task. The easiest way is to take that part of the Sharia that you can feel comfortable with and to ignore the rest. The ordinary people will do it just out of finding the easiest path. But when it comes to the alims doing that, when the alims start restricting the deen, and they start saying, well, Islam is not all that, it's something else, to make it comfortable for themselves. When the Sharia is therefore altered to make it to your measurement, then disaster falls upon that people. The Sharia doesn't need reform. We need reform. So the people who have for over a century invoking this Islah in the lands of Islam, and they have come up with a new set of regulations under the name of Islam that they do not longer resemble the original pattern and model of Medina, but in fact it resembles quite clearly the ways and the manners of the kuffar. Sometimes they do not resemble, they are an identical copy, except we decide to put a little bit of decoration above it. And the result of this is what you are very familiar with. An Islam that in terms of its official regulations is shameful. The things that they have Islamized in the times that we are in, you know them very well, you've heard of it. And that's what happens when you try to make an Islam measured upon your own incapacities. So therefore it cannot be done any other way, they say. Or you have to be realistic, this is the only thing that can be done. Or they say, but in this practical world we have to be according to the international regulations, whatever they want to say. Or according to somebody, you know, the wealth of the nation. Some people quite straightforward invoke things that they have created themselves, like the Constitution, as if it was somehow of divine nature. Well, in fact, it's their own doing. They're invoking their own laws. And this is the state of affairs. When the alim is invoking those constitutional laws, it's when it becomes even more absurd. And it's the things that they are taking for granted, that they are not longer discussed where the real issues lie on. This is a time where, for example, we have become accustomed. It's almost unquestionable the fact that we do have all identities in regard to national states, national entities. And nationalism and the identities created by that have override every other sense of community, union or brotherhood. And it's not rare to see that our own brothers from Indonesia are coming to this foreign country according to the laws, and they are treating worse than the donkeys. They are not giving any rights. And you know the situation of all you have to know is the situation in which many of those Indonesian workers who come here in these construction sites. Just have a look at the conditions of living. And then you can go on and say brotherhood of Islam. And then we can go on and say, you know, we are brothers and this and the other and the other. And they can read all these ayats of Quran. They can even make a Quran competition about who reads better that ayat. Matters like nationalism are not questioned anymore. We have taken for granted that this is the way it is. So the division of the lands of Nusantara is taken for granted. Some of these divisions are in the very nature of it, criminal.